think about like before you actually like were full into addiction, like you have more of a purpose on your life now than you probably did before.
Yeah.
So I feel like these like horrible situations that we walk through like actually pulls out our purpose. And so, you know, that's a good way of looking at it too for like any other addicts that might be feeling like that way too. Like I need to make up for all this lost time. But instead kind of look at like, wow, like that's what molded my purpose though. Like I should appreciate where I'm at right now and keep using it.
Yeah, for real. I've had people ask me like, if you could go back and change it, wouldn't you? And I'm like, I wouldn't change anything.
Yeah. Hello, this is Andrea from OurDayDream back again. This week I had the privilege of going to an amazing event. It was the Overdose Awareness Event in Somerset, PA, hosted by the Not Alone Family Support Group in Somerset, PA. I had the privilege of talking to 3 beautiful souls, but also I wanted to show you a little bit of footage. So I hope that you enjoy this week's episode. Very heartfelt, touching stories. If you like this podcast, as usual, I hope that you will be so gracious enough to hit subscribe. And without further ado, here is some footage from the Overdose Awareness Event in Somerset, PA. This is Paul with...
I'm with UPMC, Western Behavioral at Twin Lakes.
There we go.
Twin Lakes in Somerset.
Yeah, a therapist. And so you're telling me like a little bit about your story. It's pretty interesting. So can you...
Yeah, without give you the Reader's Digest version. So in 2009, I retired from the military after 30 years of service, and I came to this small town, Somerset. My wife's family's from the area, and I settled in for a job as a teacher. So I did that for a little while, and then I got the bug of volunteering, doing some motivational speaking in the community, and I was asked to be part of a juvenile drug court, and from there I met counselors. And I gotta tell you, admittedly, that, you know, after 30 years in the military, I knew what addiction was. I could, thought I did, but I really had no idea. And on that drug court, some of the counselors from Twin Lakes, they said, hey, why don't you do whatever it is you're doing? Come on down. We'd like to have you. Would you volunteer? And I said, sure. So I would go down there every Friday night and do some motivational speaking, maybe for 18 months, 2 years, something like this, started getting involved. And eventually I was asked, hey, wow, why don't you work here? Why don't you be a counselor? Let's see what we can do. And the rest, as they say, is history.
Right.
So here I am. But I'm probably the last person you would think to be doing this job.
Right.
And I can tell you, sort of my attitudes as I came out of the military, not knowing anything. We talk about stigma. I was one of the stigma inflictors, if you can understand that. I didn't want to be associated. I can remember my truck was parked in a church parking lot at night for a meeting, and I didn't know that there was an AA meeting. And I asked, are there all these cars? Oh, AA. Like, oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all that is quite turned around now.
Right.
So I'm helping.
It's much needed. And going from like active addiction to recovery is the structure. It's, and because I think like structure is kind of like losing your control. You know what I mean? Because whenever you're bound to structure, you're bound to something outside of yourself. And I think that's a big part of addiction. It's just trying to grab a hold of control.
We introduce some structure so it can be built on. And if you know anything about children, if you put a bunch of children in that park over there and give them a soccer ball, they're going to come up with rules real quick.
Right.
They're going to do some structure. They're
Right.
going to say, okay, here's the goal lines, here's this. Yeah, because we create within them, within these boundaries, right, that we've got to make them. And, from my observation, I don't have the experience, thank God. But the act of addiction there is no structure. It's just
Right.
chaos,
Right.
chaos, and then
Right.
more chaos, and have another stupid chaos,
Right.
and then to put some guardrails around that in the beginning of their recovery.
Right.
It's great, and then they move on to
Because they have
more.
that tug of war. Like I want to control the situation, and it's like, you need to trust in the situation. I think your military background definitely would have set you up
Yeah,
for being able to help them with that structure.
yeah, I can do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
And that's helpful to anybody to have that. And whenever I talk to like different people in the military and stuff, they gained a lot from that structure that really set them up for the rest of life. Even though they gained trauma too, there was things in there with the structure.
absolutely, the structure which helps you with self-discipline.
Yeah.
Which is just about everything. Right? We can motivate you only so much,
Right.
but you've got to get up every day and do the things
Right.
that lead you to sobriety.
Right.
And that takes self-discipline.
Absolute. There's a man that would say like getting up in the morning, just like making your bed, like that's your first
Yeah, that comes
accomplishment
from
the day. The
Admiral
military.
McRaven. Actually,
Yeah.
he wrote a book Make Your Bed.
There you go.
Right, and exactly. And we hear common phrases like self-sabotage and all this. Well, some folks, they wake up in the morning, they start out self-sabotage, right?
Yeah.
So do something for yourself. Get a task done.
Right.
It could be anything.
Right.
And build on that as opposed to.
Because you have that snowball effect.
Exactly. Compound effect. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you get that upward spiral.
Uh-huh.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's some lessons to be sprinkled, and I learned from them too. Because going through adversity, humans are kind of good at that.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't know it.
Right. Yeah.
And the encouragement and seeing those things happen is pretty amazing.
Right. And I think too, which, if you never really been through addiction or not really know much about it, on your behalf, it's really enlightening to like see the stories of people and like, wow, like they really actually coped with it the best way that they knew how.
At the moment,
Yeah, because like we all have this story line that kind of, trains us up in the way, I think, and we have these characteristics about ourselves, but when you're in these open groups, you see like, you know what I mean, like the pain that does exist in the world authentically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we need to make sure that, at least from my point of view, to make sure that not to run from those pains.
Yeah.
Maybe even confront them.
Yeah.
Or that may be simply talking about them.
Mm-hmm.
But when we stick them back in the backpack, stuff them down in the rucksack and leave them there, they get awful heavy carrying around. And we need to let people know that they can do that and provide places where they can do it.
Right.
And once we kind of get sort of past that, if that's the right way to say it, well, I think we really need to start, let's start talking about solutions. Let's start talking about how you are going to live your life.
Right.
And put things together.
Yeah. I think I grown to like look at it so much as like, the bad patches are actually like something to appreciate the same as the good patches.
Yeah, we learn by failure, so we're smart enough to do that.
Yeah.
And that's what life is, right?
Right.
Us figuring out one problem after another.
Yeah. Better way. So you guys have the drug overdose awareness event. You've been running it for how long?
I think it's 5 years. This is our fifth year.
Yeah. There's a good bit of people here.
Yeah, I think
I
look around maybe 150.
Yeah.
Count all the kids. And, it's kind of bittersweet, right? Here we are, trying to have some memories of people who lost their life to their addiction.
Right.
And at the same time celebrating life. It's kind of a dichotomy there,
Right.
And so, yeah, it's a time to reflect.
Definitely.
And think about that we're only one step away from that too, right?
Right.
There, but by the grace of God, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
to think about that and to, lend an ear, lend a shoulder, lend whatever, just be there for the folks who have lost somebody, because those wounds will never go away.
Right. Yeah.
Pretty much.
Thank you so much. Great. So, Diane, while you attend the Not Alone Family Support Groups.
So we do it every Tuesday night, and it's helped me so much. It's just like an extended family. I lost a son 7 years ago due to addiction, and then in September last year, I lost a daughter due to addiction.
Sorry about that.
And my daughter's fiance passed away due to addiction 2 months after my son. So I'm raising three of my grandsons now. They live with us. And the group has been a tremendous support. And it seems strange still talking about drugs when I'm not dealing with that drug issue now. But quite a few of the addicts that go to the meeting, and that's the good thing about this meeting, it's family and the addicts, have said that they didn't realise what they were putting their families through. And the insanity of the disease makes not only the addict insane, it makes the families insane as well.
Right.
And hopefully now, they're at the verge and they're healing and they're at peace.
Right.
So, I'm there if anyone needs to, talk about anything, either the addict or the family member. And I root the addicts on.
Right.
I want only the best for them, because they've become like extended family, because you see them coming back again and again.
Yeah.
And, it's like piece of us.
Yeah. I work in a treatment center myself, and I use that oftentimes in recovery to be like, because they'll say, well, I miss my family. And I'm like, your family would do anything, include like losing out on a year, 2 years time, just to know that you're going to be, a part of the family, and that, that you're going to be better. Like, that's what they want for you.
That's all they want.
Yeah.
That's all we want for our children.
Yeah.
To be happy and healthy.
Right.
And you don't realise how much the healthy means until, you haven't got it or you're struggling with it, because it involves all aspects of the person.
Yeah.
And the family members.
Yeah.
Their health goes down drastically as well, because they're not sleeping at night. It's going up to pick them up at 2 or 3 in the morning. I don't miss any of that. I miss my son and my daughter every day. That I have the 3 children. I've got a few of them playing on that baseball team over there. So and they keep me going. They keep me going. We talk about it all the time, because I want them to. Because they lost a mother and a father.
Right.
And so genetically they're predisposed.
Right.
And they're getting to that age. The eldest, he's going to be 16 next month. And my son's 2 children, they come up regularly all the time. And, so we're getting through. And all we want is the best for them. But we didn't think I didn't think I'd get to 66 and I'd be raising children all over again.
Right. It's hard.
It's hard, but it's hard for them, because we don't do as much at 66 as what we were, 20, 30 years ago. I did everything with the children.
Right.
I mean, we go, involved with all their sports and every activity they're in. But I would far rather than have their parents doing it.
Right.
And be in that grandparent role.
Right.
Rather than the parent role.
Right.
But they're doing well. That's all I can ask for.
Right. Yeah, I think that is extremely important to like be transparent with with the kids, and they're starting so young. So it's like as soon as you see, you know, that could be being introduced, you can go.
You've got to get back there for ringing the bell. Yeah. I'm just doing an interview. That was 3 of the boys.
Yeah. Yeah, my oldest daughter, she had she's on her 3rd year of college, and when she first started going, she was like partying all the time. Like, really don't want to mess around with that fire, because not anybody that's sitting in rehab said, you know what, one day, I want to deal with this addiction. One day I want to fight this. Like, nobody's saying that's what I want to be whenever I grow up.
My other daughter's always telling me one of the things that I say to them is, don't pick up unless you want to be a slave to it for the rest of your life.
Yeah, you just don't know.
So they don't know, but the predisposition is there. I mean, I don't know where it came from with my but there it was, you know, and we had to deal with it. And I don't think, unless you have someone in active addiction or in recovery, you don't realise exactly what it entails.
Right.
Everyone thinks you can snap your fingers and just, and I wish it was as easy as that, because then I wouldn't have lost them.
Right.
Because if love could have done it,
they
had it a millionfold.
Yeah.
But no, it wasn't to be.
It's a lot of work.
It is.
It's a lot of work.
You know, I do it over and over.
Yeah, it's a lot of work being in recovery, but it's well worth it. You see, people that are in recovery are a lot more well-rounded than people that's really never dealt with recovery.
Yeah.
Because they just they found this really beautiful gratitude, I think, for life when they find it. When they find the recovery, and then that's their purpose.
Yes. And it gives them,
a
definite purpose and something to look towards. Well, I've got on. We sponsor baseball teams every year on behalf of. Adam was my son, and Jeffrey was my son-in-law, and then this was my grandson's baseball shirt for this year, and then I just put my daughter's name on the bottom. So I'm not sure whether we're going to change the name. We've been sponsoring for six years now, the baseball team. So whether to change it and add her name or just add initials.
Yeah.
Just to think of them, keep them alive and all in other people's minds as well.
Yeah. Obviously, they really imprinted your heart, so you're still giving that away.
Mm-hmm. Oh, most definitely, and they'd be so proud of their own children, you know, and that's what hurts so much. I mean, for it to happen once, and then my daughter said, "God, that will never be me." But it wasn't to be, you know. Met up with someone from the past, and it's as quick as that.
Right.
Then my grandchildren, ringing the bell for the names. They sort of get it, but it's the first time that they see. I haven't had them at meetings or anything. I just go by myself, actually, because I get something out of being able to talk about them still.
Yeah.
And my husband is the opposite. You know, whenever they were talking, we had to walk away from it. You know, it's still too fresh in his mind. And
I mean,
we all deal with grief differently.
Absolutely.
Mine is I like talking about them, and I like, you know, them to be remembered.
Right. Yeah, we do. We all think of that. That's that time too, where it feels like you're just in the dark for a little bit.
We didn't get a chance for that.
Yeah.
We had to step straight in and, you know, be there for the boys and show them, you know, how to be strong, and if they needed to talk to anyone, but they've had all their sports, and they seem to be handling it really well. Yeah. But they know that if they need to talk to someone away from the family, that we would definitely take them.
So what is like, what do you think would be that you learned from, you know, all the sorrows that you went through with losing 2 children with active addiction? What would you tell another parent that's going through that you might want to share with?
At the time, there is nothing we can do. We can love them, and we can love them too much and then proceed it even quicker by enabling. Or we can love them, let them know that we're there and ready for them when they are willing to want to be in recovery. And it's strange because for so many years, my life's been in turmoil with them. And now I don't have to wake. I've had the worst phone calls I'll ever have. One of them was when I was in England when my son passed away. And then just after the next week, my mother had a massive stroke, so I had to go back to England. And in that time, my daughter's fiance passed away. So I was in England. I was in England twice. But just letting them know that you're there for them, and that there is help if they want it. But it's the one thing in life that you can't do for them. They have to do it themselves, and sometimes we want it for them more than they want it. You know, they've got to have that fight in them. And I knew that my daughter's kids were the thing that kept her fighting. But because it had gone on for so many years on and off, once that last time came, it was downhill really quickly. Yeah. Because otherwise she would still be here. Yeah. Yeah. People, places. Yeah. People and places. Yeah. And there's nothing you can do. Right. Yeah, and I always like to think about like the people that I've lost in my life, and is that like whenever I look at my kids, and you know, there's gonna come a day whenever I'm not here anymore. It's like, you know, really I don't want them to hurt forever. I know it's gonna hurt. Yes. But I want them to understand like I'm just moving forward. Like I'm transitioning, and you know, I want them to celebrate the light. Well, we do that in Florida. We let off balloons. My daughter's fiance, we let off balloons when it's all their birthdays, and then when the day of passing as well, we let off balloons. So, and we have cake and pizza. So it's a celebration for the kids. Yeah. You know, see whose balloon goes the highest. But one of the other things with the meeting is there's no judgment. Yeah. On any side, you know, and out in the real world, no matter what, you still feel the judgment, you know, and a lot of it might be in my head, but you still feel where you go in there and you feel you can say exactly what you want,
Yeah.
you know, in front of the family members and the adults,
Yeah.
and they get it.
Yeah.
No one else can get it if they've not been through it.
Right.
And they, as I say, it's just helped me, and that's, you know, my way of getting through
And
things.
it's like a family too, right?
It is. It's an extended family.
Yeah.
You know, when I went here today, everyone hears me talk about all my grandchildren and the family, and they were all seeing them today for the first time, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was nice.
Right. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with me.
Well, thank you.
You're going to bless a lot of people with this, and no doubt that your grandsons is going to be a part of their beautiful story too. You know, they're going to help other people too.
Yeah, hopefully, and we just want to keep our eye on them and keep them on that right road.
Right.
Because there is far more help now than there's ever been.
Right. It's true.
And a lot of the stigma has gone.
Yeah,
you know.
it's true.
So hopefully, you know, there's not that fear of, you know, going forward. It was fearful for me the first time I went to a meeting, you know, and that was a family group, you know.
Yeah.
I thought it's not me that has the problem, it's my child.
Right.
But
We needed it.
yeah, totally.
Yeah, I know like 12 years ago, like recovery wasn't really talked about. Addiction was talked about.
Yeah.
So, and it really is. I mean, it's a huge problem, but it's also a huge blessing that people actually have a way to get help rather than, you know, back in that time period, it's like, well, what do I do? You know? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Well, thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
So you're Jace. You go to the Not Alone Family Support Group. That is a recovery group, but also for family members.
Yeah, so
People in recovery.
Yeah, like the main purpose of it was originally for like family members to kind of be able to come together and have like their own meeting, and throughout like the journey of this meeting building, we brought in addicts and their family members, so it's kind of a hodgepodge of like experience, strength, and hope, you know, because you got family members that are just coming in that are, you know, their loved ones that just went to rehab or just got out. We also have, you know, like myself and my girlfriend, like I have 4.5 years of being successful in recovery. So like thank you. So like our knowledge is a little more than people that are first coming in. So, you know, we've been through a little bit of things and you know, we try to kind of give our experiences of what we've been through to maybe help other people. So
Right. So that's kind of like different than from like the NAAA. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot different. So like NA is mostly NA is mostly for, you know, the person in recovery. You know, family members aren't turned away, but you know, it's not really for them. You know, Narnon is another thing for family members as well. We're kind of just like a freelance meeting. We don't really turn anyone away.
Right.
All supporters are welcome. You know, I believe the opposite of addiction is connection.
Right.
So the more we connect and more information we can get out, the better.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely feel like it's a harder journey whenever you have to deal with your demons on your own. Like, your mind's like always going to be like trying to like do the tango with you, and you have to have somebody and a family there.
And any kind of support, really.
Yeah,
you know, like
there's somebody there to like not just like, because there'll be people that'll be like, well, I got family members that, you know, are sober. But I'm like, are they going to like give you the hard truths whenever you don't want to hear it? Like,
yeah. So like I have family, they don't really get it. Like they think I can just stop. Like, why can't he just stop? And it wasn't that easy, you know? Like you know, they talk about that rock bottom and I don't feel like I ever reached the rock bottom until I decided to stop digging.
Yeah.
You know, I had to put my shovel down and realize that, like, there was a better life. And for me, it got to the point where I was miserable clean and I was miserable high.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, then, you know, I had a sponsor once tell me, goes, it's not the drugs or the thing that's on the table. It's the funny looking thing between your ears. And I like took a look at it. I was like, oh, it's me, you know? So yeah, like once I figured that out, you know, I don't want to say it got easy, but
Yeah.
it definitely made it manageable.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a profound thing that, you know, that we actually do have, you know, the availability to see that our mind isn't who we are, necessarily who we actually even want to be.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, if you would have told me 5 years ago I would be living on a farm, starting a football team, helping people in recovery, like I would have looked at you and probably said, you're out of your mind.
Right.
You know? So like you don't really know where it's going to go when you decide to make those steps into recovery.
Right.
When I first started, it was just like, I don't want to live that life anymore.
Right.
And now I look at it and I don't want to give the life that I have now up for anything.
Right.
So.
Right. It's so true too, because like whenever, you know, you start understanding like you're only hurting yourself and you start working towards that, it's like you just don't know how far you're gonna go with it. Like you just don't know. And even that, like you're here now, 4.5 years later, God knows where you're gonna be in 8, 10 years. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. It's exciting.
yeah.
It's exciting.
Sky's the limit.
Yeah, and like I feel like I missed out on a lot of years, like 11 years, and like I feel like I have a lot of catching up to do. And like early on, it made my life even more chaotic because like I was trying to cram so much.
Yeah.
And now I've learned to like just kind of step back and like, you know, enjoy all the things. Like days like this, you get to enjoy.
Right.
Although like when they were reading the names for the people we lost, I was like, man, that's crazy how like I could have been in days.
Right.
You know, and it really makes you grateful. It really does make like these kind of events kind of humble you. You know, make you realize that it's much bigger than you.
Right.
You know, so.
And you think about like before, not condoning addiction, but you think about like before you actually like were full into addiction, like you have more of a purpose on your life now than you probably did before.
Yeah.
So I feel like these like horrible situations that we walk through like actually pulls out our purpose. And so, you know, that's a good way of looking at it too for like any other addicts that might be feeling like that way too. Like I need to make up for all this lost time. But instead kind of look at like, wow, like that's what molded my purpose though. Like I should appreciate where I'm at right now and keep using it.
Yeah, for real. I've had people ask me like, if you could go back and change it, wouldn't you? And I'm like, I wouldn't change anything. You know?
People are grateful for it.
A single thing. You know, it's made me the person I am today. I truly believe that, like, you know, my higher power tests me. You know, he thought that I was strong enough to get through it, and here I am. So, you know, I changing one thing might have just made something else worse.
Right.
So, you know, here I am able to give back and try to help the next person struggle.
Right. So what's your football team? Are you looking for people to be on your football team?
Yeah.
Is it like different counties doing this, or is this like?
Yeah, we're part of the Great Eastern Football Association. It's a football 8-man semi-professional football league. Teams range from like the Philadelphia area all the way to Bedford. Locally, we have a team in Somerset. There's a team in Bedford and a team in Johnstown. And I played in Johnstown the last 2 years, 3 years. And I decided that I didn't want to really travel anymore for home games, so I was like, I'm gonna make a team in Somerset and see what happens. Also, like I feel like there's a lot of kids around here when they get out of high school, they're not quite sure what they want to do. You know, like I went to college and I wish I would have like maybe took a year and you know played some ball somewhere and didn't lose any college eligibility and so like that's what we're shooting for. We're looking to help some young guys. We're looking to help guys in recovery, or even if it's just you know some guys that are just hanging out in their 40s, whatever, want to play ball.
Get people out of the house.
Yeah, something.
Yeah, I always like look back to it. It's like a dead age. is like, cause I'm 39 right now. And so whenever I was a teenager, like, I don't know how old you are, you don't have to say, but whenever I was a teenager, like, you had like my great uncle that was like in his like 60s out there playing basketball with us. You had like the 20, 30-year-old dads across town, they were over there playing basketball with us, you know, and we had all different age ranges, but there would be like 50 people on the basketball court. It was like the coolest thing whenever the older guys would come in and play basketball with us and be like, no, like, here, let me show you.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, and honestly, that's pretty much what we're trying to do. We just want to make something fun for the community. Give some guys a purpose. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, I know it's not the NFL.
Yeah.
But it's you know, it's just going to be a good time.
Right.
You know, we brought in a solid coach that's, you know, been around the block as far as coaching and things that have gone on in his life, and I think he's going to be a great leader for the young men that we're looking to put on the team. And,
Yeah.
we are looking at tryouts on September 10th, right here at this facility, and we're also going to play our home games here. So, you know, we talked with a bunch of local vendors, and we're trying to keep most of it locally and work with, you know, local businesses. So.
Yeah. It's cool. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's awesome. Again, if you like this podcast, please hit subscribe because we have an awesome guest coming up every week and, you know, maybe an event too. So, I hope you have an awesome, blessed week and I will see you next time. Bye. Again, if you like this podcast, please hit subscribe because we have an awesome guest coming up every week and, you know, maybe an event too. So, I hope you have an awesome, blessed week and I will see you next time. Bye.